like to keep your cameras off, that's absolutely fine. So let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining our webinar series, Best Practices in Sustaining Evidence-Based Programs. Today's focus is on staff retention and development. And this series has been presented by the Implementation Specialist team at Penn State EPIS. For those of you who do not know the Implementation Specialist team at Penn State EPIS, our team consists of Janine Burris, Jordan Joyce, Nicole Wells, and myself, Heather Roberts. We all provide technical assistance around a specific menu of evidence-based programs, and we support program readiness, training, manualization of evidence-based programs or program curriculum, model fidelity, evaluation or tracking outcomes, and then communicating program impact. Jordan and I are going to be presenting today, and Janine and Nicole are helping with some behind the scenes stuff. Again, this is the fourth webinar in the sustainability series. This slide shows the list of the previous presentation titles, and then the fifth and final presentation in the series that will be on October 26th. If you missed one of the previous presentations, we are working on putting those online, so they should be available in the very near future on the EPIS website. I am now going to turn it over to Jordan to get us started off.
Thanks, Heather. Good morning, everyone. We wanted to begin today's presentation by having a conversation around what is currently happening across Pennsylvania and across the country, and it's happening across the globe with employee retention and staff turnover. You can go to the next slide, thank you. In preparation for today, through all of the research that we were doing, we discovered a report from Culture Building Engagement Organization Achievers. And this report stated that half of employees plan to actively search for new jobs in 2021. This is an incredible change movement, and they described it as a turnover tsunami. So let's look at some data and understand the numbers and really understand why this incredible wave might be occurring. On this next slide, this data in front of you, it comes from a report on the Bureau of Labor Statistics Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey. So let's walk through what these pie charts show us. On the left-hand side, this bigger pie, this is data from April of 2020. So right after the pandemic began. The blue part of the pie, that represents the number of job separations that had occurred at that time due to layoffs and discharges. The yellow part of the pie shows the percentage of those who had job separations due to quitting their positions. And then the green part shows really how many those percentages of folks who left their positions due to other reasons. And there's a note at the bottom of this slide that really shows you what other means. And other means that they had left their employer due to retirement, disability, death, or transitions to other locations within the same office, the same organization. And so when you're looking at this pie chart from April of 2020, you'll see that there were 11.3 million job separations being reported. And most of them, 80% of them, were due to the layoffs and discharges, and 17.25% were due to people just simply quitting their roles, their positions. Jumping to the pie chart on the right represents data from April of 2021. And you can clearly see the significant change from April of 2020 to April of 2021 with those percentages of job separations that occurred due to people quitting in the yellow had significantly increased. So we went from 17.25% of job separations were due to people quitting in April of 2020 to a year later, close to 70% of those job separations that were occurring were due to people quitting their jobs. So that was a significant change in 1 year's time. So in order for us as leaders across Pennsylvania, we really want to focus on how do we keep our staff employed with us within our own agencies, our own school districts. And we really need to understand then, why are so many people looking to leave their jobs in order for us to be able to develop strategies on how to prevent this from occurring? So now we really are looking to have everyone's input into this question. Why are so many people leaving their jobs? So if you can please utilize your chat feature, and we're hoping that you can type in at least one reason or maybe multiple reasons, anything that you can come up with on why this might be happening, this turnover tsunami in 2021. And as we're getting into 2022, if this is still occurring, what could possibly be some of those reasons why this turnover tsunami is occurring now? I'm seeing low pay, people are feeling burnt out, not enough pay, insufficient benefits, not feeling appreciated, people needing a career change, they're feeling maybe unhappy. COVID regulations, maybe people are looking for something different. There might be new opportunities for advancement, yes. Putting their families first, exactly. There's a lot of reasons that are popping up for everyone in the chat box. This is wonderful. And if you could, yep, competition for higher pay. Negative work environment, yep. On this next slide, we did list out a few bullet points of various reasons why people might be losing their jobs. And these are ones that, of course, were already mentioned. Some people may not find that their job is as enjoyable as it was before the pandemic, so they're looking for a change. There might be better remote work options out there that people are searching for. Some folks have waited out the pandemic to find a new position that they might have, put the job search on pause during the actual pandemic. They might be making more money elsewhere, so they're looking for a new job. More people are empowered to speak up about when, how, and where they want to work. And time is really valued in a different way now. And I see that there is another addition to the chat feature that some people might have health-related issues that they might need a different job. And we could keep going and keep listing all of these different reasons as to why people are leaving their jobs. And it's so important, so critical that we are finding out, again, what all of these reasons are and being very strategic about how to keep our employees employed with us. So I'm going to turn it back over to Heather, and she's going to talk more about staff turnover and retention strategies.
All right, thanks, Jordan. So as we all know, experiencing turnover is extremely costly and requires a lot of time and resources to fill new positions. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into orientation, the interviewing process, going through sharing resources and things. So we really need to think about and figure out ways on how to retain our staff. So let's first define staff retention. So staff retention is the organizational goal of keeping skilled, trained employees on staff while reducing turnover by putting forth efforts to retain staff within the workforce. So what exactly do those efforts look like? If you have a staff or multiple staff that are currently leaving, it's very important to find out why. Revisit your exit survey process and be sure that you're not just checking off a box when employees leave. You want to engage with your staff as they're leaving and show them that you genuinely care about what their experience was at your agency. Be sure that you're asking the right questions. Some examples that we have here are, what was your entire experience with us? What do you think is the best thing in our organization that you enjoyed the most? What suggestion do you have for us as an organization? Would you suggest any change in our system, policy, and procedures? And do you get enough opportunities for training and development on the job? This is essentially being reactive to staff turnover, finding out why. So really what we want to do is we want to actively seek ways on how to be proactive in retaining our staff. So let's talk a little bit more about how leaders are able to do this, and we'll give you the opportunity to share out your ideas as well. So first of all, staff retention starts during the hiring process. When marketing for the specific position, are you providing clear information? Are you providing interviewees with an accurate, full representation of what expectations you have for the position? Is the candidate a good fit for the position? And do they think they are a good fit for the position? A recommendation that we have for you and your agency is to map out and document a very detailed onboarding process that is followed each and every time a new employee is hired. By doing this, it ensures that you are completing it in its entirety. And of course, help employees feel like they're part of your organization. Part of the onboarding process should be for you to check in with your staff and find out if you've given them all the proper resources and training for them to complete their tasks and goals successfully. Another recommendation that we have is to hold a focus group. So bring your staff together and lead an open discussion on their experience with the agency, the culture, and the day-to-day operations. Ask what they like about working there, what they dislike, what can be improved. Some staff may not feel comfortable sharing openly and honestly, so possibly bringing in someone outside your agencies to lead these focus groups may be a good option for you. Consider implementing anonymous surveys using both quantitative and qualitative questions. So some examples that we have here is based on your overall experience with the organization. On a scale of 1 to 10, How likely are you to recommend the organization to your friends and family? The example 2 is kindly respond to your level of agreement to the following statements. I am provided with all the resources to do my job efficiently and effectively. Does the job use your skills and abilities effectively? And are there enough opportunities for you to learn new skills and develop professionally? Does anyone else have any questions that they use in surveys that you would like to share with us in the chat box? Jordan, do we have any that came into the chat box?
Nope.
Well, this might be an area that you want to consider exploring and, thinking about what questions you might be wanting to ask in an anonymous survey. Something to think about. We also want to celebrate employees. Employees who feel appreciated work hard and they stay at their place of employment longer. Try to build a culture of recognition and celebration that's more than just every once in a while. Be frequent and specific when acknowledging employees. Some examples are, verbally telling an employee thank you or that they're doing a great job at the specific task during a staff meeting. Giving a thank you note or a thank you card. Giving a small token of appreciation, such as, a favorite candy bar or a coffee or maybe something a bit more healthy. Start an employee of the week or employee of the month. Take the employee to a breakfast, lunch, or dinner and tell them what they're doing an amazing job at the job. Highlight employees on your agency's social media page or in your organization's newsletter. Issue certificates of accomplishment. Does anyone else have any special celebrations that they have used that they want to share?
Susan did add a note into the chat, but it actually folds really nicely into our next slide. So I'm going to hold off on addressing that one, but.
Perfect.
Dante put in here, order food and deliver it to their home. Susan added,
Nice.
We're having a luncheon for new staff tomorrow.
Awesome. Great ideas. And who doesn't like food?
Susan said that they put together an employee engagement committee.
Nice. When I was a director prior to this position, we did, a lot of the staff would be, picking up young children and being on the floor a lot. And so this was pre-pandemic, but we had some masseuses come in, and during their break, we offered the employees to go and get a quick little massage. That was pretty popular among the staff. Again, that was pre-pandemic, so it might not work out quite as well right now, but they appreciated that.
Susan added their employee engagement committee. They're planning holiday parties, happy hours, birthday celebrations. That always helps with the climate of your staff and really building those relationships. I love that. And Shantae added, don't take credit for staff's work. Be sure to acknowledge them, give them credit for the work that they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I feel like giving the acknowledgement and celebrating them for the great job is wonderful, but also it helps them to feel like they really are a part of the agency, and that they have buy-in in the agency as well. So all great and wonderful ideas. I am going to hand it back over to you, Jordan.
We wanted to talk now about keeping up with diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. And again, exactly what Susan had mentioned earlier will fit in really nicely with this topic. So Heather just talked about celebrating employees and their accomplishments, and we learned a lot of ideas that were popped into the chat box. And a critical part of celebrating employees and providing them that more personal recognition is being able to also implement practices such as this to really recognize diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this graphic that we have in front of you, they are the priorities for a business out of Canada that we had found. And their priorities are to accelerate equity, celebrate diversity, and foster a culture of inclusion. And they're really putting in extra efforts to address each of these. And they've developed this framework, and it's all about celebrating their staff, their employees. And I just thought it had just a wonderful tone and model to present today. So we were hoping to really hear from folks today on if anybody has any examples of how you're doing this work at your agency or your school. And so I see, so Susan, you had added already that you're looking at doing a DEI survey. And you're also looking at how decisions are being made and maybe looking at who's a part of those groups or leadership meetings or a part of committees that are making decisions for your agency. And maybe making sure that there's equal representation across the board. And you can, of course, unmute yourself and speak to that further.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we a year ago formed an internal, we call it Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, because we include the justice component, making sure kids don't go from school to prison pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And so we formed this committee. It consists of like whoever sees himself really wanting to advance this work. And we actually just finished a cultural humility training, full staff. We started doing lunch and learns around different topics. We took a staff meeting, watched a video, and then had a discussion afterwards. We're going to do another series, and it's pretty much, if you opt in, you can come and participate. We've done a book study on race. We did one on somebody that was I can't remember. And then we're doing one on white saviorism next. So just, really looking at different diverse topics. And now the most recent thing that we're doing is, what is it that this team wants around decision making? How do we be more inclusive? We've put together a bulletin board. We put together a committee of new staff that are basically going to onboard new staff when it comes to JEDI and talk them through like what our culture is about and what we're trying to accomplish and how they could potentially plug in. So they're just some of the things that we did in the last year.
Wow. Well, that is wonderful. And I think your staff, I'm sure, recognizes the amount of efforts that you're all taking to make this, be very important, and that it is a part of your agency as a whole, and it's what you represent. And I think that that is certainly a huge part of being able to retain the staff that you have. That, you didn't just list a few, you've been taking on a lot to really address these issues, and that is wonderful. Thank you. You had mentioned that you were doing, there's maybe a book club of some sort. That's, I guess, our name for it at EPIS. But that's what we had done about a year ago. We started this book club between EPIS and PCCD staff. And we've really evolved into more of this learning community where we're not only reading books, but we're listening to podcasts, we're watching documentaries all about topics related to DEI. And, we're all very personally committed to these practices, and our employees are very supportive of this personal and professional development as well. And we have all really enjoyed having those conversations and being a part of that group together, that network, that peer support. Okay, so moving along, we have 3 more ways on how to prevent staff turnover that are going to be highlighted on this next slide. So this one is around keeping your compensation and benefits current. So really being aware of how other agencies, other school districts, what they are compensating their staff, or what the benefits look like. So being able to offer those additional benefits really matters to staff: insurance, paid vacation, PTO time, bonuses, raises, awards. The next one is allowing flexibility is huge. It's significant, especially for those positions where you might be working nights and weekends. Allowing your staff time off throughout the typical workday really helps them make up for that additional time that's being spent to fulfill their positions on, the evenings and the weekends that they're putting time in for. And next, be committed to developing your staff and helping them gain the skills necessary to be competent in their positions, confident in their roles, and support them in developing those skills over time and really helping them make progress in not only their short-term goals, but their long-term career goals. So we're curious, again, hearing from the participants, what are ways in which you as a leader or your own leaders, how do you help your staff gain and develop skills that will help them do better in their role, in their position, to really help with your overarching organizational goals? And feel free to use the chat. You can unmute yourself. And we can always go to the next slide if some folks are even thinking about what to share, how they want to share it. Susan just added, for a resource for salary and benefits, we are purchasing Blue Water. I've never heard of that. What?
So, yeah, I don't mind. So there's a nonprofit salaries study that's done. I'm not sure if they do it yearly or bi-yearly, but basically it's a 739 page document that we just purchased. And what we're going to do is see what the market analysis for similar size organizations in our market, as well as positions, comparable positions, and then see how we are measuring against the market. And our goal is to be plus 10% of the medium salary range for our market. So anyway, it's just a resource. It costs $399, so very affordable for small shops like ours, just to see how we stack up against our competitors.
Yeah, wow. I didn't even know that that existed. That's wonderful.
I can share the link to it if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be great. That would
Let me
be
find it.
very useful for us. And that right there too, I think is something that you could even market as you start to either hire for new positions or, just talking about your agency. It really shows that you really care and you want to make sure that your employees are happy and that they are getting compensated for, what their position is, and you're showing how important that is to you. And, I'm sure that they really appreciate that too. And then you can know that you are paying them with what they deserve and you're actually paying them more. Shantae just added shared training opportunities with staff. They also offer virtual trainings because it's much more convenient for staff to participate in now rather than needing to travel. Yes, I completely agree. And we do have a few listed on the screen here. But being able to fund attendance at conferences really shows that commitment to developing their skills, and being able to really offer them those opportunities is really ideal. Being able to find skill building workshops that would benefit them and your organization's goals. Providing your staff with a mentor or being able to be their mentor, just really offering them time to reflect on their work efforts, their goals, their successes, the challenges, and providing them that supportive, caring environment. Another idea here is to develop your leaders or your managers into coaches, so that rather than managing staff performance, they're really coaching staff, and they're showing that commitment to offering the additional training and insight and experience that can then help your staff become much more confident in, again, meeting their own goals, fulfilling their roles, and meeting your overarching organizational goals or your community goals in general. And then, of course, encouraging your staff to lead cross-departmental collaboration. It really helps staff become much more connected, realizing that they are working towards a common goal. It can help build trust with one another. They become much better at problem solving together, resolving conflict, and really performing as a team, as a collective. And then, of course, connecting staff to networking opportunities or learning communities so that they could be having those productive conversations with others who have similar roles as them. They're in the same circumstances that, they all find themselves in, and it just really allows for additional outlets to be connecting to. Oh, thank you, Susan. We see that link, so we'll be sure to save that. Thank you. Okay, we would like to pause for a moment, and we want to have this pause and reflection time. And if everyone could be thinking about one reason as to why you like your current job. What about it do you appreciate most? And what is really a general perk of the position that you may not find elsewhere, and that really keeps you tied and connected and really truly enjoy your current role? And if you feel comfortable, if you would share that with us, either again through the chat or unmuting yourself, speaking up, Jeff added his coworkers on the implementation specialist team. We genuinely appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you for being here. And prevention is important. Yes, that keeps you going, keeps you tied to your role, and keeps you motivated to do a great job. Someone noted here, I love serving youth and families in the community. So you find that as your motivation, and that keeps you going. That really is what keeps you enjoying the role that you fulfill, and you get a lot of meaning out of that. That's wonderful. Someone else noted that you love seeing the impact that mentors have on the young people. Yes, that's huge. Being able to see that change, knowing that you're making a difference. And the purpose in us doing this is, somebody else added they like seeing staff develop their leadership skills. Yeah, you really like watching the staff grow and develop themselves, and that you've contributed to that. That's wonderful. And what may be important to us as individuals, that might look completely different for the person next to you, your colleagues, your staff, your own supervisors. And so being in that leadership role, being a director or supervisor, it is a lot of work, and it's very time consuming for this whole theme of staff retention, because that is really a job in itself. And you have a lot of other tasks, a lot of other responsibilities on your plate, and we recognize this. And so a lot of this that we're talking about today and presenting, it takes a lot of time and effort. And we just want to mention that it's obviously extremely critical to be putting in the extra mile to go and reach out to your staff, try a variety of different methods, or even just one that we've talked about today, and really understand what is keeping your staff employed, so that you know where to focus your energy and your efforts to keep them. We do have a YouTube video that we're going to share next. So from the data that we showed at the beginning of today's webinar, we know it is getting more and more difficult to keep staff employed, especially if you are in work environments where you're still virtual, or if you're hybrid and still balancing in-person and virtual work. So we found a video that we would like to share. And this person is in a leadership position, and she's sharing some helpful tips on being in that leadership role and really what's important to her in her role during COVID-19. So we're going to watch this video, and then we're going to start wrapping up.
The one thing that is incredibly important is the power of human connection. Leadership right now is particularly important. People are working from home. People are feeling insecure. Many of us have become caretakers. And so there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure, which is why communication is so critical right now. One of the things that I've discovered is not communicating is definitely not an option. In the absence of communication, people allow their own stories to form, or they start to form their own version of reality. It's important to be transparent. It's important to be open. It's also important to share what you know now, knowing that it may change. part of communication is also listening. What I love is seeing how a lot of small businesses still preserve that Friday afternoon kind of show and tell session, making sure that we continue to have this human connection, one-to-one, one to small groups, one to many, is really, really critical. I never thought that in my lifetime I would ever be experiencing what we're experiencing today. But I will say this has been one of the greatest leadership challenges for me, but also one of the best, because I think what I've discovered is that employees, customers, partners gravitate towards people who show up authentically, are true to themselves through all of this.
If you hit escape, it'll take you out of there. Are you having trouble with your screen, Heather?
I am.
Is your screen frozen?
Okay, wait, let me
Because
see.
if you can just click on the right tab of where your mouse is right now, we'll be back in the PowerPoint. You want to unshare your screen and see?
Sure.
Maybe that will help you pull the PowerPoint back up and then share it again.
All right, can you guys see?
Yep, we're good
Is
now.
it there now? Okay. Gotta love technology. So thinking about everything that we've talked about today, before we end this webinar, we really want you to kind of reflect and think about all of the things that you've heard. Many of you have shared your ideas, questions, things that you've done for your employees, staff. And so just kind of thinking about the efforts that we can take to retain our staff. If you can think about just one or two actionable items that you really want to take with you today and you plan on moving forward with as a result of today's discussion, that's really what we want you to kind of do right now. So I'm going to pause for a moment. You can either take a mental note or you can write an idea or two down that you really want to move forward with. And again, this is just kind of for you and for you to, take action on. So I'm just going to pause for a moment for you to think about that. I also want to thank you for sharing your ideas and things that you have implemented. I've heard ideas today that I've not heard before, so it's been wonderful for us as well. All right, so we just want to thank you again for joining into our webinar today. Our next webinar, which again is going to be the last in the series, will be October 26th, with the focus being on program participation. If you have not done so already, please visit the EPIS website and you can sign up there to receive the EPIS e-newsletter. You can also find lots of other resources and additional trainings on the website as well. Within the next day or two, you will all receive an evaluation. If you can please complete that evaluation. We really look forward to all of your feedback, and we use that feedback and any suggestions that you have to plan for future webinars. And finally, we will be sending out the slide deck from today, along with a recording of the webinar within the next few days, so that you can have that. Thank you again for participating, and have a great day.